Hiya guys, so I've been asked to do a video on one of the patterns that I personally use quite a bit of. Originally started out with the half beads that quite a few of you guys know about, the rubber beads where you cut them in half and then put them onto the hook and then tie onto that. Pattern has been around for quite a while. With the beads, I didn't quite feel that I was giving enough bulk onto that, and it wasn't keeping the bulk, because again, in time, the head's starting to flatten out like they do when you use the bucktails and stuff like that. So yeah, so I kind of moved on to something else. Again, I've been using them for 2 to 3 years now, so it's something that I'm quite fond of, and that is by using these sucker cups that you get off Amazon, and I'll put a link in the video or the description or something for you guys to use. So these are, you buy them in boxes of 20, and what you do is cut them in half, leaving you with one good side and one naff side. So ditch the naff one, keep the good one. And what you get is a really nice sort of profile that doesn't collapse in time. It doesn't get squished in your fly box or anything like that, and various other sort of patterns that have it in as well. And if I split that open, you'll see the cup is just in there as well, and you can use the same sort of tying to do several things. That's one of them there, and good old scruffy bulkhead version with a bit of alpaca wool on the front to give extra sort of action on that one as well. But all of them have got the sucker cup in there. So now this pattern, or this version of it, I've had really good success with. And obviously yesterday, 4 fish, same fly. In fact, I didn't change fly. Well, I did change fly and then decided to put it back, and then had my 4th fish. So I should have stuck with it originally, but good pattern. Does it mimic anything in particular? Don't think it does, but it's just something that is a combination I like. So you've got the copper hollow flash and the green hollow flash, and there's a tiny bit of Tego hair in there just to add to the body, to keep everything from tangling up in time. So what do you need for this? Black Tego hair, you've got the green hollow flash, and this particular one, obviously we're going with mainly the copper hollow flash on there, and of course I tie everything on partridge predator X hooks, so got those on there. All this stuff, as you all know, is in the shop, so easy to get a hold of. So how do we do this? So let's just pop that over here for a quick sec. So what I do is, yeah, that's not going anywhere. Brilliant. Get the thread going first of all. And what you're doing is just building up a bit of a thread base just at the first part of the hook, and then what I want to do is build a little bank of thread. I'll explain why in a bit. So one spot, just concentrate it, and you're building a little bump essentially. I don't know if you just about see that little bump there. Move just by maybe a millimetre or so, and then build a second bump. What these bumps do is they help keep that sucker cup in the same spot, and what it doesn't do is start moving around, sliding up and down the hook shank. So there we go. Got first bump, second bump. Now believe it or not, I'm tying off. Right. And for now, don't do anything more with that. Just pop that on the side there. Get your sucker cup, and what you want to be doing is pulling the scissors up against one side of it and then cutting down. And I said you'll get one bit was a bit naff, so bin that. And on this other part you'll have a raised bit there. Now you want to kind of trim that down just a little bit, because what happens is you get your thread that snags on it, and you don't want that really. So I'm just sort of trimming down around the edges a little bit there. There we go. I also look for any little wispy bits and get joined by a little monster. Excuse me. There you go. So any little taggy bits that are hanging off the edges of that, usually where the mould lines are, just cut those off. Get the hook that you've put your thread base on, and then what you want to do is put that hook in the middle of that bead there, and then just push it up and over. So you want to make sure that that is always sort of like that way. So you pop that back in the vise. And what we want to do now is put some glue on. Now I do use the Gorilla stuff for this particular part because I don't want that moving around. So just pop around the thread, and what that will do as well is help lubricate this next bit. So you do is grab the cup and you want to pull it over and in between those two bumps. Quite often you'll overshoot. There we go. Right, I'm in the middle there. So pull that back to where it was, and then more glue. So what we're doing is just putting a nice blob on the front, all around those threads, just making sure. And then what I do is push that cup back onto itself, and that gets you into the back of it. Just doll up the glue and then just push that round, and that gives you extra support and glue at the back. What you want then to do is just let that dry. So leave it 5-10 minutes before you come back to it, and then that will be ready for the next stage. So that is all set. I'm happy with that. What I want to do is the next bit, which is going to be the tail piece. So obviously predominantly this is copper. So grab a bit of that. So what I'm doing is just grabbing that much off there. Always making sure we taper those ends. There you go. And what I'm doing is literally a 50-50 on this. So there. Just do a couple of wraps. You will get material wrapped around various things with this pattern. So what I'm doing is just pushing that material around the hook. And then just a bit of teeth proofing. And what we're going to do is pull that back. That's the thing with the hollow flash, it likes to go and have its own little mind. I swear it does. And then you just literally just tie over what you've got there. And we'll finish off on that one. Make sure you're pipe proof again. There you go. So you've got that sat over there. Brilliant. So what we do now is just pull a fair bit of thread up and start back on the front. And what you want to do is wind right back up snug to that. And you need a longer bit because you need to have something to grip a hold of to actually cut nice and flush down there. Now the fiddly bit. So I'm going to start off first of all with some teago hair. Now I don't need much of this because it's just a bit more of the support than anything else. So literally just a teeny tiny bit. It might look like a lot on the video, but if you're screwing it down, it's only that much. That's all I need. Again, a little bit of tapers. And what I do is I actually put it on the table and open it up a little bit, because this next bit is the really fiddly bit. So if I angle that down to there so you can more or less see it better. Right, the fun part. Blending the copper and the green. And this is where it gets quite fiddly. So I'm going to be using pretty much half of that. Oh, a big chunk of that actually. Nah, fuck it, I'll use all of it. There we go. And again, just lay that down for the time being. Don't worry about and green. So with this fly is subtle hints of green, not an overload of it. So I'm just going to put about that much of the green in. I forgot that my green is longer than my copper. So there we go. So what I want to do first is blend the copper and green together. And you do that by just pulling it through, and this is where you're going to get a bit of a nightmare with flash because it can make a bit of a mess. So just be patient with it. So just get the blending going there. So obviously at the moment you've got really sort of scraggly ends there, so what I do is just tidy them up a little bit. There you go. Now the Tego. So what I do is just lay this on top of the Tego hair. Gather the whole lot up together, keeping that flash on top, like that. Because like I said, that Tego is more of a sort of support than anything else. What I do now is I don't blend it, if anything, just fold it. So what you're doing is just separating that lot, just putting it on top. There you go. And then one more separation and split. There we go. By the way, you will have flash falling out of this, so don't worry too much about that. Right. Right. Tidy up and get rid of that stuff. Okay. So what we'll do here is we're going to lay it onto the hook and basically roll it all the way around. So it is a 50-50 thing. Initially, just get the first lot all at the top there. Just sort of pinch and hold. Get a few wraps in. Not overly tight at this moment, because we need to be able to move that around. There we go. This is all just sitting in one place right now. And what you do is with your fingers, is you start to just push up against it. And that starts to move that all around the cup. So use your fingers to just move it round. So as you can see, it's sort of like feeding itself all the way around the cup. There you go. And then, obviously, that's now moved forward where we don't really want it. So what I do is just push that back up towards the cup there. And get some more wraps down, and you're wrapping all the time towards that cup. You're trying to get it as tight as you can up against that. As you can see, there's about a nice wide little area there. On the cup side of things, I still use the main glue. I don't use the nail varnish stuff because I don't want this stuff moving about. Now from there, what we do is we just split and separate all this. And what we're doing, if you have got a pen top or a pusher, this helps. What we're doing is just pushing all that back round over the cup. There you go. Right, so just pull it just enough to get all that just basically tidied up. Now you are going to tie over the bulk of that. Usually I don't do this sort of thing because I don't like the look of it when you've got tons of thread on the front of a fly like that. I think it's not the best look in the world. But on this particular pattern, it's the only one that I do it with. And with the front of that, just tidy that up. On there. There we go. So what you should have is a flash equally distributed around the entire cup there. And just grab a little clip, just get a bit more control over that end of things. That's fine. Now I only do one major tie on this. I don't layer it with even more material. I know there's enough gap there to maybe put another layer on, but with these ones I don't. I just put the one main one on there. Now the reason I've left a bit of gap on the front is because if you want, you can add a bit more action to your fly by adding a bit more wool to the front. Now I use alpaca myself. I prefer it over the synthetic wools. It doesn't trap air as much as the synthetic stuff. That's why I like using it. The original pattern that I have doesn't have any wool on the front. All I've done is just marker penned the front of it and then just sealed it off. But it does let you have, you know, the ability to put wool, blend it with gold ice dub or maybe a bit of green ice dub. You know, it's up to you, or even use some of the old hollow flash to blend in there as well. So I'm just going to keep this original. So that is that done. One more for luck. Right. All you need to do is just get your marker pen and just hold it against the thread, and that will wick itself around the thread. Also helps stop you pulling parts of the thread loose on you as well. If you don't like a sort of large gap on the front, what you can do is when you put the cup on is pull it a bit further forward if you want. That is absolutely fine. And then one last pike proof in here. UV resins are just as good if you want to use that. Right, so that is that one done. There you go. It's a light fly, doesn't take much to cast, it pushes water, and because it's that ultra flash, that's all we need to do. There's not much in it, it's a bit fiddly, but it's well worth it. As you can see, there's just the right amount of green, copper, and you've got the Tego there, just giving it a little bit extra support so it doesn't constantly get wrapped up. I'll put a photo in as well as what these look like after a pike's nailed it. It literally just ends up like a ball of tinsel and flash around the hook, and obviously what I do is I just dunk it back in the water, and the water basically lubricates and get everything back nice and straight again, and then I check the wire, carry on fishing. Happy days. Like I said, colour combinations, if you want to change that, gold, green, you know, you can almost do a pike pattern for when, you know, sort of pre-spawns are coming through. If you wanted to add a stinger on, again, you can tie that in at the back and then just sort of have it coming through. You just, you know, the main thing is that's the main recipe or sort of system of how to do that. You can change the colours, put the woolly heads on. If you want to put eyes on it, put eyes on it. Personally, bulkheads don't need eyes, you know, they really don't. But it's up to you whether you do or don't. I don't think they need them. And it's a nice easy pattern to use. So, and yeah, crack on.